You're listening to the Digital Deep Dive, where we tackle the newest trends, strategies, and pain points shaping growth across the digital landscape. From Amazon and D2C to international expansion, join our host and e-commerce leaders across multiple industries for in-depth discussions on how to maximize your brands in the digital arena. Now, here's your host, Aaron Conant.
Well, hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Digital Deep Dive podcast. I'm your host, Aaron Conant, and today we want to dive into a lot of things around that I'm hearing coming up from brands I'm talking to related to lifetime value. We're spending a lot of money getting people to websites, retention, making sure that they're going to come back. If it's a subscription side, how do we handle that and make sure that they don't churn? And obviously the subscription portion of it as a whole. And we've got some great friends, partners, supporters of the network over at Recharge. Actually, was just doing a dinner out in San Francisco with Chase here, and just had a great conversation and thought, hey, why don't we go ahead and put this out there for all the listeners of the Digital Deep Dive so they can learn as well. But, Chase, I'll kind of kick it over to you. If you want to do intro on yourself and the company, that'd be awesome. And then we can kind of jump into the conversation. Sound good?
Sounds great. Yeah. So first and foremost, thank you for having me. Really excited to be here. I got to find a new intro to podcasts because everybody always says the same thing. Thanks for having me. Excited to be here, but we'll get into that more. My name is Chase Alderton. I am the Senior Field and Partner Marketing Manager at Recharge. Recharge is the leading subscription management solution helping e-commerce merchants of all size launch and scale subscription offerings. So exactly like you said, lifetime value is a huge focus for us. Everything subscriptions is what we eat, sleep, and breathe. So excited to dig into that more. And I'll shameless self-plug first and foremost. We also have a podcast called Hit Subscribe, kind of talking all things subscription as well. We talk to the merchant side, we talk to the partner side. So if you're interested in more subscription talk, head over to rechargepayments.com/hit subscribe. Check that out.
Yeah. Awesome. So let's just kick it off within subscriptions as a whole. I have a lot of people, interesting, sometimes even in like apparel now, looking for subscriptions. Maybe it's socks, maybe it's shoes. Like, it's really interesting. Would love to hear your thoughts of maybe how people should be looking at the space today. I have this interesting look at it as far as I like to have conversations with people. And on the brand side, then when I was on the brand side, I viewed those different interactions as, a conversation with the end consumer and the customer.
Totally.
Would love to hear like how you guys look at, or how you look at, subscriptions as a whole. How should people be thinking about it?
So it's a really broad, generic question. I'll start with just kind of essentially defining the three different types of subscription models that we see most commonly. The first two should be really easy to understand. Subscribe and save is the main one. So something like a protein powder or vitamins, or like you said, shirt. I subscribe to a shirt brand. Socks is a good one. Just things that you need. Same time, month over month, week over week, coffee, whatever it is, anything consumable, anything replenishable is really good for that subscribe and save model. Usually there's some sort of discount. It's just kind of a running, recurring purchase over and over and over again. You get the same product. The other one that's going to be really familiar is this subscription box idea. So like a curated box. So there's some cool, I'm getting into golf. There's some cool golf brands. So we'll put together, $50-$60 a month. You get, a shirt and a belt and an accessory or something like that. The following month will be socks and shoes, maybe. The following month will be maybe a club, something like that. So it's all kind of a curated box. The third type of subscription model that we're seeing growing really quickly, you mentioned like fashion, you mentioned jewelry, things like that, is this access model, this membership model. That's what I think, not to jump on your questions, but that's what's most excited for me, what I'm most excited about moving into the future. So membership model, think like Amazon Prime, think like Netflix. You're getting access to a subscription. So you're not actually getting a physical real product. It's more of an access membership model. So Amazon Prime, when you buy that, it's like, what is it, like $13-$14 now, whatever it is a month. You just get access to their faster shipping, their overnight shipping, the free shipping, whatever it is. There's certain deals on Amazon you can only buy if you're part of Amazon Prime. You get better feedback, you get better customer support, all those kinds of things. Netflix is another great example. So you're not actually getting a product, but you get access to their entire digital library of movies and TV shows, all that kind of stuff. So when we talk about things like fashion, like jewelry, membership is a great way to go because you're not going to send somebody a bracelet or, diamond earrings month over month over month. That's not and you're not going to curate a jewelry box because it's hard to do. You don't know what people's preferences are. If you do something like a membership model, you do something like, $10 a month. give you faster shipping, priority shipping, better customer support, all that. Early access to new releases is a big one. So if you're a jewelry line launching a new watch, maybe your members get that 30 days before everyone else or 2 weeks before everyone else. There's ways to integrate loyalty in there. So I'm kind of going on and on, but membership has been something I'm really excited about.
Yeah. So, because there's probably a lot of brands out there who thought it is a perfect example. This is what I'd like to dive into, I guess, a little bit, because I then don't have to be an actual subscription product.
Exactly.
To create a subscription.
Yep.
And so then do they get is it kind of like, hey, it's $10 a month, but you get $10 off as well? Or is it, I'd love to dive in. I guess that's where people, I think they're looking to add that extra revenue stream. They're looking to lock in. We talked about, retention comes up all the time, lifetime value all the time. Hey, that just sounds like an awesome play for brands who said, hey, I'm not a subscription brand.
I totally agree. And you kind of alluded to it a little bit. What do they get? Is it $10 a month? Do you do $10 off? The product allows you to do anything. The product actually recharge cells allows you to do anything. It's totally customizable. Ideas though, you're spot on. So a lot of people will do that $10 a month, but will give you $10 of store credit. It's still a great way to guarantee your monthly income that's coming in. So 10,000 subscribers are guaranteeing $100,000 coming in every month, even though it's product that you're going to end up shipping out again because it's in form of credits. It's still dollars in. It's still profit that's coming in. So you can use that to kind of build that subscription model, increases average order value, increases lifetime value, all the stats that you're hitting at. But yeah, totally customizable. Depends on. I'm going to say this a ton. I feel like every time I talk to brands and I talk to the podcast and everything, the answer is always it depends. It depends on your vertical, depends on what you're selling, depends on your price point, all those kinds of things. But if you have, let's take like jewelry as an example, generally a higher price point item. So people are not going to be buying $300 products from you every month. But if you have $20 a month in subscription and a membership that they're then crediting you $20 a month for, it's almost reverse layaway if you think about it.
Yeah. That's what I was going to bring up.
6 months in, let's say you're paying $20 a month, which is not nothing, but you get $20 a month coming out of your pocket, easy to stomach. Now, 6 months in, you have $120 in cash. Maybe it's your birthday, maybe it's a friend's birthday, whoever it is. And you say, you know what, these earrings, whatever it is $300. I already have 120 in credit. It's a lot easier to put that 180 towards that as opposed to a $300 giant ticket item right away.
Why wouldn't people try it?
There's
why wouldn't you
tons to everything. Yeah, so there's definitely drawbacks there. It works best when you have really engaging products. High ticket items work really well. People who are constantly around your brand, if you have a community that's already built. I'm sure we'll talk about community in a little bit as well, but those kinds of things, you have a strong moat around your brand. Those things are really pros to the membership model because people are always around your site anyway. Give them another reason to come back. Give them another reason to spend money on your site that doesn't feel salesy, that feels like it's an actual benefit to the customer. And in a lot of ways, it truly is. So it does feel very win-win for everyone.
So you mentioned community. So I'm thinking as I play this out in my head, I could also potentially cap the number of people that are in there. Maybe then it's a select community that gets access to new item drops 2 weeks early or a month early or whatever it might be. Or they're the ones to get, you're trying out new product. They're the ones who get it first to provide customer feedback and just build out a community, but then maybe also create scarcity at the same time.
I think doing something like putting a cap on how many members you have is potentially risky. I feel like you already need to have a really giant brand for something like that. Or maybe you tier your memberships. So maybe, your top 1,000 is the platinum membership, whatever you want to call it. And those are the ones that you get, a month early access. And then maybe there's another tier a little bit lower that, it costs less or, people have been around less or whatever it ends up being, but you have kind of different tiers there. That's something you could absolutely work in. But yeah, you're spot on. Early drops, new detail drops, regional things. We've seen brands do it really well with like really in-demand products, things that like come out and like 10 minutes later, everything's sold out. That's a great way to increase demand there. So lots of different options, lots of ways to do it. And we're very beginning of this model. So people are starting to try this out. People are learning what this is. Not a lot of people understand what memberships is. So I think particularly in fashion and in jewelry, we're going to see this be really big over the next like 3 to 5 years. Hopefully sooner, but 3 to 5 for sure.
Yeah. In either of those, I'm at least giving it a whirl.
Yeah.
Why not give it a whirl?
I don't really see a lot of drawbacks,
right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So we were in San Francisco a few days ago. We were talking a lot about A/B testing and, getting products and getting feedback in front of customers and seeing what they think. For a relatively low lift, start a membership model. See what people would be open to paying you $10 a month for a few benefits and $10 in store credit, and just see if it grows. See if naturally it grows. I was just talking to another brand the other day saying they kind of turned on this membership model by accident, and they're over 5,000 subscribers now. They turned it on intentionally, but they haven't done much marketing or much like promotion or anything around it. They just sell their products. They have a landing page on their site that says, join the membership, whatever it is. And, you look up a year or so later and all of a sudden you're at 5,000 subscribers. At $10 a month, that 5,000 subscribers is $50K a month. It's just coming in for store credit. That's easy lifetime value.
But how are people promoting it today then? I mean, you say we're at the beginning, right? So I'm a fashion brand. I am jumping into this. What do you see as people doing it successfully right now? I mean, people got to 5,000, they did nothing.
Yeah.
Which leads me to believe you can get to 10,000 pretty quickly doing something.
I would agree. The marketing's still kind of all over the map. We're still kind of figuring out this difference between acquisition and retention. In the subscription world, everybody's 100% onto retention now. But subscriptions still only kind of a small portion of the whole market. So we're seeing a lot of promotion across the board on how people do it. Generally, the best way to go is, run your standard ads, have a membership landing page. So instead of driving straight to a product, drive toward this idea of a community, which we kind of hinted at earlier. So you're not selling a product. You're not saying, hey, you want this thing. We pulled a bunch of ads, buy these shoes for $100. It's like, hey, I know you love this brand. We can see you all over the place. We're picking you up on the website. We're catching our ads on Instagram. You're clicking the shop now button, all that. We know that you're interested in the brand. It's a long jump. We recognize it to buy those $130 shoes. Come join our membership program. It's $10 a month. Hang out with us for a little while. See if you find any new drops you like, and we'll credit your account for everything so you're not losing any money. Education's a big piece of it. You really have to educate customers because they don't really know what they're looking for.
Yeah, and it's so new. They get it. We're having this conversation and people will be listening in and, hey, they got it. But then again, we just educated them on it. It's not traditional. And if you don't know what you're getting, who wants to, send out another $10, $15 a month?
Exactly.
If we jump back to like the traditional subscription side of things, what is the best? Are there common pitfalls when people are setting these programs up, or are there best practices that people should know about? I'll give you one of my pet peeves, which is the initial is a deep discount, and then the discount goes away on the second or third month.
Yep. See that all the time.
And maybe it's okay, right? And if that's the only option, I'm fine. But the reality is, I'd much rather go the other way. Hey, listen, I'm giving you a long-term commitment. Why don't I get a long-term benefit from it?
Right. And you see that all over the board, even for people who don't do subscriptions. How frustrating is it to go on a site and buy something and then the next day get an email say, hey, 4th of July sales coming up. Here's 20% off for your next purchase.
Yes.
Like, well, wait, I just bought something. Why would I? This is unfair. So that, as far as general best practices go, we don't usually suggest the big discount and then the taper off and go less discount, because then there's no incentive to stick around. So generally we flip it. It's not necessarily give a deeper discount as you go, although we've seen that work. But providing additional benefits, providing additional value, everything comes down to this kind of nebulous term of value. So if you are building a community, you've been subscribed for 4 months, let's get you into our Facebook group so you can now have conversations with other people who are having this product, and you guys can figure out how to use it better, or, what are unique ways you're doing it, or what are your favorite things you're doing. We've seen surprise and delight things. So, maybe 2 or 3 months in is a handwritten note from the founder, we're so appreciative you're doing this. This is an exciting, launch for us. We're really excited you're part of the community, something like that. In-person events is always great. We've seen coffee brands do this. It's like, hey, we know you're subscribed for 6 months. You clearly love our coffee. We have you geographically located. You're near our office. We're doing this pop-up in downtown Venice, whatever it is. Come hang out with us for an afternoon. Grab a cup of coffee. We'll show you, how much we appreciate you subscribing. A lot of things like that. Even things down like swag. Like, send me a shirt. I know a lot of people are kind of over shirts a little bit. I love the product shirts. Send me a shirt. Send me a sweatshirt. Send me a hat, a water bottle, something like that. Just something kind of to keep that relationship going. Because people do get bored. At a certain point, it's like, yeah, I've subscribed to this for 6 months now. I'm going to cancel this and do something else.
Yeah, I agree. If there's no, that's where I see it, Matt, to like, the conversation piece for me, right? If I feel like there's been no conversation, right? Like you're just taking my money and giving me my product, taking my money, giving me product, and there's no conversation, then that's where it starts to dwindle. And that gets into, I think, that retention side. The more conversations you can have with people, and maybe that conversation is the text ahead of time to say, hey, we're supposed to ship this next week. Do you still need it, or are you out yet? Or are you not out yet? Like, should we move it in a week, out a week? That's at least a conversation, right? Where I feel like you're engaged, you understand me as a customer, and therefore we can go back and forth and have this in those touch points. I think what you're saying is like dead on. Just send me a water bottle. I mean, even if I don't need the water bottle, it's kind of interesting that I got a water bottle from you, right?
Yes.
And then you get me talking about the brand.
And I use the term education, so I'll take it even a step further from what you're suggesting. I love the customer touch points. I think they're all necessary. Like upcoming charge notification is my favorite one to talk through. Exactly what you just said. So there's always an email that goes, or there should always be an email that goes out that says, hey, we're going to charge your credit card in a week. Like, just as an FYI, we're going to charge it. You're subscribed. It's coming. Like, just warning you, it's coming. That works, and that's fine. There's generally a bump in cancels or a bump in pauses or something like that, which is not the end of the world, but there's generally some sort of activity that happens right around that point. Use that point, because everyone opens that email, as a further education point or some sort of value point where you're talking about this nebulous idea of value. Something like, so I'm subscribed to Magic Spoon. It's the protein cereal. It's awesome. It's fantastic. Go try it out. But they do this really well. So they'll do like, hey, your charge is coming up. It's $28, whatever it is, we're charging you in a week. One, just want to make sure that you are still open to doing that. And two, we have this new flavor launching next week. So if you're interested in the new flavor, click this button right here. We'll add a box to your subscription right away. It'll ship with your other box, and we'll just add that in there. And then you can taste it. You can see if you like it. Maybe you can swap your flavors next time if you like it so much. Boom, bam. There you go. Easy upsell, easy cross sell. Really, really easy to do, but it provides other value to me. So instead of just getting email that says my credit card's getting charged, that then triggers in my mind, do I want to spend $28 this month? Is that financially responsible for me to do it? Should I just buy this at the grocery store? Do I need 4? All of those questions go the other direction. Hey, we're spinning this new community thing up. We'd love to see what your favorite flavors are. And, are you making, Rice Krispie treat bars out of the cereal at home? Show us your recipe. Do you have kids? Show us a picture of your kid eating this thing, and we'll put it on social media. We'll get some user-generated content for it. We'll tag you for it. Ways like that to take the conversation off of like, buy another box, and shift it towards value and community and brand building and all of these things. That, you asked a few minutes ago, what's a best practice there? Use those touch points as value adds as opposed to notifications.
It seems so simple, but
it does seem
so few people are doing it. It's unbelievable. This is like, these are those things that make the difference between the brand rapidly growing or just floundering, right? Hey, you know what? I'm going to try. I'm not a subscription company. I don't have a subscribable product, but I'm going to start this subscription on the side from a membership standpoint. Why not try it? The next one is, you're missing, they're opening the email, right? And so if you know that, I totally agree. Throw content in there that's valuable to them. We know so much. They subscribe. We know so much about them.
Yeah. At the dinner the other night, there was a fitness brand, and it was talking through like, how do we get more engagement, and how do we get people using the product in different ways, and how do we let them know that we don't just do this one thing, we do a bunch of things. Well, those emails are perfect. Hey, I know you're subscribed to this thing. Did you know you can also do this? And we have all these workouts that are already pre-populated. If you're looking to do XYZ, here's a suggestion. We know you're buying creatine. That's generally a muscle building supplement that you want. If you're looking for muscle building things, here's our new chest workout. Here's our new leg workout. If you're interested in either of them, here's a big list, and there's videos, and we have our tenured fitness influencer who does the videos, and it's super cool, and post your workout and we'll tag you on Instagram. How is that not a home run for everyone involved?
I don't know. I mean, in that case, I open up my own brand as well of protein, of creatine, workout supplements, and drive them to another storefront.
Yeah.
Get them subscribed on that.
Yeah.
Right. You're already a subscription mindset. People are missing this all the time, right?
Yep.
I mean.
Yeah. as far as best practices, I mean, there are a lot of really low lift, really easy, I won't say easy, but really simple things that almost every brand should be doing as far as engagement goes. In this world we're in, where acquisition's so difficult, those touch points, that's free retention. If that keeps 2 or 3 or 4 people subscribed another month longer, that's huge. It's more community, it's more referrals, it's more people just enjoying your product. That's I think the thing that people are missing the most.
I mean, it's the opportunity for cross-sell, upsell that a lot of the conversation around cross-sell, upsell comes around when we're talking about checkout. I'll probably do 12 dinners this year around checkout, which is pretty crazy if you think about it.
Oh yeah.
I'll do more around checkout than I will growing Amazon, which is absolutely bonkers if you look at the past 6 years. And it's just where everybody's focus is, right? Direct to consumer. And with all that conversation around cross-sell, upsell, it's at checkout. But if they've subscribed, they're not going to checkout.
Right.
But they're still checking out in a way with that email every month. And we're talking cross-sell, upsell.
Yeah. Yeah. It's a lot easier of a way to do cross-sell, upsell when you know they're coming back already.
Right.
So there's a lot of the new stats. I'm for sure going to butcher it. I want to say it's something between like 50 to 60% easier to sell to existing customers than it is to find a new customer and sell to them. So on the one side, that's the same product over and over again. So something like protein powder, it's a lot easier to resell them the same protein powder than it is to go find another customer who wants the same protein powder. On the flip side of that, it's a lot easier to cross and upsell. After the first month, hey, do you like the flavor? Do you like the taste? Do you like the texture? Is it working for you? Are you seeing gains in the gym? Is this actually working, what we're supposed to be doing? If so, here's 3 other products that we think you might like based on what you're actually purchasing. That conversion rate is way, way, way higher than anything you're going to do at direct checkout. And it's a one-click upsell. A lot of apps will help you do that. Recharge helps you cross-sell and upsell within the checkout right away. And again, because they're already subscribed, it's not a full long process. Give us your credit card. Do you want to ship it to the same address? All that kind of stuff. That's wiped away. It's the same checkout. It's the same box you're shipping. It's no brainer.
How do you look at like then communication? We talked email. What about like SMS? What does that blend look like as a whole? Because we want, again, I'm a conversationalist.
Right.
What is that? Is it both? Is it one? Is it, I mean, my guess is it depends was probably the right years to get there, but
yeah, I think it does depend. Depends on what kind of brand you are and what you're selling. There is a thing as too much communication. So again, I would advise just A/B test things. Send a handful of emails and text a week and see what people engage with and if that works or not. I'm a huge SMS fan. I think there's definitely opportunity there. I'm always a engagement conversation fan, exactly like you were saying. But I think there's a lot more opportunity in this transactional text message as opposed to the marketing text. I think we're going to start to see text rates get absolutely crushed on the marketing side. On the like, hey, we're running this quick, flash sale, 20% off. Here's a cool image or a cool GIF, use this discount code, go check out. I think we're going to see a lot less of that and a lot more of the like, Magic Spoon actually does this. So like, hey, your order is coming up in a week. Push 1 to just confirm. Push 2 to see options to delay it 1 to 2 to 3 weeks, and we'll figure that out. Push 3 to swap out a different flavor. And so you say, oh, okay, this is really easy. I'll push 3. And then they say, okay, you're subscribed to cinnamon. Do you want to switch it to vanilla or chocolate or other? And if it's other, they'll push you right into the customer portal, which is easy enough to manage on your own side. If it's vanilla, then you just say, cool, cinnamon out, vanilla in. They go, cool, got your order. We're good to go. We'll ship that out to you. That's more engagement. It's not necessarily leading to higher revenue, but it's more engagement with the brand, which all of those engagement points will end up eventually leading to more revenue. But it's communication. It's all just awareness and understanding and how do I interact with the brand more to be more top of mind.
What comes up like number one engagement with a brand? Usually is it just, hey, we want to increase revenue?
That's always the goal that everyone has, because in the world we're in right now, revenue's king, and it's just everyone's trying to gain more revenue. Some of the brands who can afford it are taking the longer route, and they're starting to do forget revenue. Let's just try to build the greatest community we can, and we know that will lead to revenue eventually. So I think there's some pieces we can pull from that. Like I mentioned, the coffee meetups. I think that's a huge one. where like if you have a brand that works in public, or you're going to be at a trade show or whatever it is, start sending that to regional people and say, hey, we're around here. Come check us out. Bring a friend. We'll do a free cup of coffee, whatever it is. Pop up for shoes we've seen, like a shoe brand taking over like a warehouse or something. Come check us out. We're doing food. We'll have, burgers, whatever it is. Like just come hang out for a bit. That type of community eventually leads to the long-term revenue. But it's hard. I mean, it's really tough right now to definitively say like this thing drives revenue, because people are impatient and you need the numbers and there's investors and all that kind of stuff. I'm sure everyone listening knows, but
it's a lot different than it was a year and a half ago.
Yeah.
It was just money flying everywhere, right? Everybody's tightening their belts. The PE, VC, angel money that's going around. Well, I guess there's a lot less of it.
And it's like 80% year over year drops between 2022 and 2023.
80%?
8% of investments. Yeah. So like the investments we were seeing for like 100 million are now down to like 20 million. Yeah.
Yeah.
And maybe don't quote me on that. I don't have an actual source to give, but I've seen a handful of things around the area. So numbers are dropping significantly.
Yeah. I mean, just even anecdotally, I think everybody sees it. It wasn't small. It wasn't slight. It's massive.
Yeah.
That's everything from the brand side to like some really cool startups on the service provider side where, they're trying to make it. And we're going to see, if you think about like these trade shows where you'd have like rows and rows of the new up and coming tech where they could just get a little booth, and all of a sudden those are half the size they used to be, 40% of the size they used to be. The money's just not there.
Yeah.
Brand side, service provider side, wherever it is, it's just tough. But to your point
right now is just survive.
Right. And to your point then, how you're spending your money, like there's a lot more eyeballs on how you're spending your money than there were a year and a half ago. Anybody, during the pandemic, anybody could grow an online business, right? And now, I mean, it's the reason we're having, conversations like this is educate the community around, hey, this topic came up over and over again from brands. It's something they're focused on. Well, let's put that information out there so people can have a different viewpoint and a different way of looking at, subscriptions. Oh, they're nice to have, but I don't know if I can really use them. How hard is it to manage? Am I going to offend my customer? What is, is it one more thing? How do I build into an email flow, an SMS flow? Sorry, you just got to do it at this point in time.
Right. I agree. And I think I'm the eternal silver linings guy. So I think that while it may be more difficult for kind of the quote unquote like mom and pop stores to stay alive nowadays, I think these types of environments that we're in, these types of kind of financial situations we're in, it unlocks creative people's brains. Mm-hmm. And we will start to see more things come out of this as a result. I think membership model is one of them, actually. Well, I've been talking about membership model for 4 years now, somewhat just in theory, when Recharge didn't necessarily have the opportunity to build those things. But years and years ago, you're sitting back thinking like, this is coming. This is going to be a really interesting one. This is going to be exciting. So now I'm excited to see what happens in the next year of how are we going about acquisition? Because it's down to zero. No one's acquiring anyone right now. How are we thinking about retention? I'm sure everyone's sick of the word retention already because it's been 6 months of just people going, what's retention? How do I do this? What's the silver bullet? Like it doesn't exist. You have to get creative and figure it out. And every brain's different. Every vertical's different.
Yeah. I mean, there's that pressure from executive teams, from an, PE, VC side of you need to perform.
Yep.
And they don't necessarily understand in a lot of cases the complexity of what's going on in digital right now. The webinar we just wrapped up was around the future of search marketing. Because from a Google standpoint, they're kind of pointing out that, 15%, 25% of their revenue comes from page 2 to the end of Google. And 75% is on page 1.
Okay.
And that's going to shift to, and I think it's only 13% of people even make it to page 2. So there's a good chunk, 25%, but only 13% of people make it to page 2.
Yeah.
But that's where it gets cost effective for some smaller brands to go, and they can still grow, right? They can still get the exposure.
Yeah.
Well, that's going to switch to 5% with, the OpenAI, ChatGPT, the conversational search where, you start going back and it turns, the statement is, Google is a search engine, but ChatGPT is an answer engine. Well, Google's bringing in Bard. I mean, it's going to work where you don't even go to the second page. Well, if nobody's going to the second page, that means everybody's got to advertise on the first page. But with Performance Max campaigns that are coming out, and it's all AI driven, you better have AI tools to drive the AI and give you insights, because you can't, there's few platforms out there today that can crunch that amount of data and give you the insights you need, because everybody's going to a black box. And so now everybody's like, what do I do? How do I make more money? How do I perform? The executive teams don't understand that. They just don't.
Right. Yeah. I think that I'm not a huge AI guy. I'm playing around with it. I'm trying to figure it out. I have some friends who are really deep into it, so I rely on them for a lot of the info there. But I think what you're saying is platforms are kind of finding more problems than solutions. It's going to be on the brands to figure out the solutions there. So like you and I can sit back and say, here's what we think is going to work really well. The community we think is going to work. The membership model we think is going to work. But it's ultimately going to be up to these brands to actually run these tests and figure out, what are you doing tactically that makes sense? Is it dinners? Is it community? Is it just more SEO? Is it AI SEO, if that's even an acronym out there? Like, all of these things are going to be changing so quickly and are already changing over the last 4 months that this is the Wild West all over again. Every 6 months in e-commerce, there's a new Wild West. We've seen it over the last 4 years.
Yeah. And so few people understand. I mean, you and I get it because we live in this space. And a lot of people listening are probably like, yes, this is like a giant therapy session. It's changing so fast. Nobody can really keep up with it. At some point in time, it's just going to be the one who can spin the most plates without them all breaking. And then the competition is going to come up, shove them, and all the plates are going to fall.
And for what it's worth, without doing the hard sell, I think subscription is not a foolproof plan. It needs to be actively managed. It needs to be understood. It needs to be thoughtfully rolled out and installed. It ends up ultimately being one of those plates that you're just spinning. But if you do it the right way, and again, that's where it depends on all the things we've been talking about for 40 minutes. It depends on all those things. But if you do it the right way, it increases average order value. It increases lifetime value. It increases customer satisfaction. It decreases churn, increases retention. All of these things that we've been talking about forever. As long as you do it the right way, it works. It's proven to work.
Yeah, but it's also, it's one more thing, right? And everybody is like, how big is the lift? I guess is the question I would have. Everybody's stretched for time and money right now. And the question, is the juice worth the squeeze? What does the lift look like to get like a subscription up and going?
How many times can I say it depends in this episode?
Yeah. You guys have a unique product that now is even getting the TAM got even bigger with the membership model.
Yeah.
So
the addressable market's massive. Everyone potentially could do it. I mean, there's a range, to be honest. You could just install Recharge and do this in a minute. It's but the actual pitch to install Recharge is very easy. It's an app on Shopify. You download it. It works. You set it up. It's not that hard to do. Those are the kinds of ones that generally don't produce a ton for you on the long run. If you have an awesome product, if it's really replenishable, something like coffee that everyone wants, and you have a good product and you're marketing it well, you could end up getting a couple thousand subscribers relatively simply over a handful of months. The ones that we see really successful are the ones who go all in, which is the story of history over and over again. The people who are successful are the ones who do it really well the first time, and they do their research and they understand it. So it's not hard to do. You could spin up a membership model and put up a landing page on your site and put $1,000 of traffic towards that site every month and just see what happens. And if you get a handful of people who are interested in it, then double down and triple down and quadruple down on it. Or you go in the first time, you talk with agencies, you talk with people like yourself, you understand the model, you understand the ecosystem of where we're in, you build it the right way, you put some money behind it, and you see the thing skyrocket.
Right. I mean, the story of time, right? There's no silver bullet. The silver bullet is hard work.
Yeah.
Right. And but it's testing and learning. I think that's kind of what I'm hearing you say as well, is that it's nonstop testing and learning. It never stops. It never stops.
I'm a big quote guy. I heard a quote the other day that was sports related. I want to say it was Kenny Smith. But his thing about the best NBA players in the world is they don't naturally have more talent. It's not an issue of like, I was born this way. It's this idea of extraordinary. It's just people who do the ordinary extra. You just do the same thing that everyone else is doing. You just do it a little bit better, a little bit harder, a little bit longer, a little bit more consistently, and you outperform everybody else who's doing it. You look at the Kobe Bryants of the world, not the most talented guy. He just worked better and harder and faster and longer and stronger than everyone else. And you get to a point where then people look at it and you go, how'd you do it? Like, you know how to do it. This isn't a secret. Everybody can grow their coffee brand, grow their protein powder brand. You just have to do the stuff that you hate doing more than anyone else.
Yeah. I mean, what is it? If you just take 10 minutes a day, right? And you do it every day, right? So it's 365 times 10, right? Super easy math.
Yep.
Divide that by 60. You've got, 61 hours of practicing something more than anybody else does. And the reality is most people don't put in the extra, right? There's an old John Maxwell quote that says called, and then some. And so I have it on a little sticky note, ATS, and then some. Do everything you wanted to do and then some, just a little bit more. Yep. And that just a little bit more over time, right?
Yep.
Just turns into a mountain and you don't really notice it on a daily basis. But at the end of the year, you're like, whoa, I can't believe how much I know about this subject or how well I can do this or do that. And it's just by doing the slightest bit more.
And it's not a unique idea. The finance people call it compounding interest. You 1% today is 1.0002% tomorrow, and that's 1.1 and 1.4, and then it just compounds over time. And by the end of the year, you're at 1,000x.
Yeah.
It's 1% better the next day every time.
Yeah. It's just interesting. But and again, it just gets back to hard work. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Understanding it. I mean, you have to have the ability to fund it all. I mean, at the end of the day.
Yep.
But also learning it. And that's another thing. They just learn it. And I know it's the reason a lot of people like the podcast is just the educational standpoint of, hey, I need to go explain this to an executive team. I need to be able to explain what I'm doing, why I'm doing it, and why it's going to be incremental overall. But also the time frame. It's not going to be next month. It might be 3 months, but here's a potential payoff.
Yeah, spot on. A lot of just selling to your executive team is more important than actually some of the work you're doing.
It's nonstop. It's every day. We've got like a whole layer of middle management that's being removed from the story right now, which just makes everybody all that much more busy. Yeah, I mean, usually I like to ask, hey, what are you most excited about? But we jumped into that like literally right away, which is the membership model. But I've been picking your brain for a while. Like, what? I mean, all I do is talk to brands pretty much all day, every day, and moderate events, I guess. But like, more than happy. Like, what's top of mind for you? Like, what questions can I answer for you?
So I've been digging in a lot to this boring side of the business. Installing a membership model and doing marketing and building a community and stuff. That's all pretty visible. Everything on social, everyone sees all the advertising, all that kind of stuff. What are you hearing from brands on some of the behind the scenes problems, shipping, fulfillment, logistics, all of that kind of stuff? And then are there any things that you're seeing that may be kind of that next wave of creativity that's like, I don't know what people are doing now, but these are the things that we're going to start to see in 6, 8, 12 months.
Yeah, I think you nailed it on the logistics piece. So what's happened with logistics is 3PLs traditionally handled LTL, pallets, full truckloads, and they're not equipped to do individual pick, pack, ship. And so you need there's somewhere between 3 and 5 times the warehouse space to do that individual pick, pack, ship, kitting, bundling, whatever it might be for direct to consumer. And so a lot of these companies built that on, but the problem is it's still an afterthought. And the other thing is they usually only have 1 or 2 warehouses, but the reality is you need 5 to 6 now. And this idea of micro fulfillment, I know Amazon is really trying to pour into this. There's only a few companies out there that do micro fulfillment today. There's an earlier podcast with Corey Aperian over at Da Vinci Micro Fulfillment, and what they build is really impressive. But it is the fact that you need to, shipping products is expensive. Everybody wants it same day, next day. So you have to forward deploy basically to these micro fulfillment centers across the US, small amounts of inventory that are AI driven based on overall how much do you need at those fulfillment centers across the board. So different people are doing that, right? Because you don't need an equal amount of products at every fulfillment center. Like, if it's wintertime, you don't need any bathing suits in the one in Chicago, right? It's not. Like, people aren't necessarily, or I should say you don't need. Maybe people are going on, a cruise or something. But you got to understand, it's not like you're in Texas or you're in Southern California where you need more of them. And so how do you get data-driven deployment of inventory to the right fulfillment centers that can do same day, next day, and then it makes shipping rates cheaper? People's trying to figure that out right now, and it's just not working out really good. It is, but there's only a couple people doing that level of it, and they're basically overbooked with work right now.
Mm-hmm.
That's a really interesting piece. The other, I touched on it a couple of times, explaining to the not decision makers, people holding the purse strings, why you need so much new tech right now. Well, first you need a tech stack assessment, get rid of all the stuff you don't need, and then take that and bring all the stuff you do need. And they're like, just keep going. You're like, I can't keep going. Like, we have to.
Can I double down on that real quick, actually?
Yeah.
Not to interrupt you, but
please.
I work really closely with a lot of our development agencies, development partners. And the most common offer we see, which is totally wiped out now because everyone's bored of it, is a tech stack audit. So every time we run a webinar, every time we do a dinner or something, everyone's like, call us, we'll do a free tech stack audit. That is such a huge piece of this because everything needs to work together really, really well. Use the overused term, seamlessly. Everything has to work together so seamlessly that if they're not, you're literally costing yourself money. And it's not an exaggeration. It's a direct translation to dollars that you're either leaving on the table or that you're wasting on the back end. That's a huge, huge piece of this. So anyone listening who has had this offer of like free tech stack audit, go take it, whoever it is. Just have someone externally look at your tech stack and see if it works.
And that, I think, is going to be either the podcast following this or the next one.
I love it.
Yeah, you nailed it. You're very, very topical because that has come up so often. And you're right. It's not just having the right partners there. It's not just getting rid of the ones you don't need and you're not paying for, that don't work, they haven't been updated, whatever it is. It's not just getting the right ones in there. It's getting them all connected. So like you said, seamlessly have everything work together, because people are just, for the longest time, just throwing new tech in all the time. And they're like, well, where's the gains? Well, none of it's talking. It's not even connected. And that's one of the biggest things. If you can get somebody in there that connects it all, it's night and day. It's night and day.
Another thing, just top of mind, you brought up about the shipping thing. One of the I've only seen one brand do this outside of the holiday season, but every brand, when you come around Christmas, Hanukkah time, they always say like, order by X date to be delivered by December 24th or whatever. Like, order by this date at this time to make sure that it arrives by Christmas. I think the shipping and logistics and fulfillment piece is so difficult right now for so many brands that they think that end conversation ends at like, okay, you purchased, you gave me money. Now I'll just run it through and it'll get there when it gets there. But shipping is such a huge piece of this that I think it's important. We've only seen one brand do the like, if you order today, it'll be here. We're recording June 22nd. It'll be there June 28th. So like setting the table and knowing that like, this is not going to be there tomorrow and this is not going to be there the next day. And this might not even be here in a week, but it'll be here on, X date, whatever it is. It works really well with subscriptions because that the charge is coming on a certain day. I know that my charge is coming June 22nd, but I don't know when the product is getting there. So you can pull that timeline up and have that communication and say in the text message, in the email, hey, your card's going to be charged on the 23rd. You should expect your package on the 30th.
Right.
Set the stage so they understand what's going on. If you'd like to upsell or cross-sell or do this or that or whatever, pull your charge up, push your date out. It'll be here on this date. Set that expectation is huge, and people don't have those customer service complaints of like, where is it? Like, what? Let
them know it shipped.
Yeah.
Let them know it arrived. These are all conversational pieces that just help with brand affinity and brand loyalty as a whole.
Yeah, totally agree.
Yeah. And then what was the newest stuff? The newest stuff is all around AI right now, and people are struggling to understand how to fit it in. And the reality is, there's like all this different tech stuff going on, and there's all this new stuff that's being developed that's going to make people's, I think, job easier, but nobody has the time to learn it right now. And that's really exciting where it's going, and hopefully it frees up a lot of time. I know, there's this whole thing, he's going to take over and everybody's going to lose their jobs. And no, I think it's going to enable us to do our jobs better and not spend as much time doing the things we don't want to do. I also wonder if part of it's like, when they said the computer originally came out, they're like, oh, the computer, we're only going to have to work 10 hours a week. Like, no, it didn't change the work week. It just changed our expectations on how much work we got done. I think we're going to see a lot more productivity with these tools, but we're going to see a different skill set emerge, right? Around if you can prompt the AI better than anybody else, you're going to win at the end of the day. So how do you prompt it? How do you extract information that's out there?
How much time would you recommend someone to be spending towards learning AI? Because it does feel like it's adapting and changing so quickly that, like, on the one hand, it might not be that valuable to learn it right now because 3 months from now, it's going to be totally different. But on the other hand, if you're putting in 10 minutes a day, like you said, to just kind of learn and poke around and see what it is, 6 months from now, you're going to be way more benefit by that.
I would have, I'm a company, right? So I would have everybody on my team experimenting for 30 minutes a week on how it can help their job out. Because a lot of people are thinking it from the standpoint, oh, it's going to create copy, it's going to create imagery, it's going to create, paid media assets, but it can do a lot more than that. Your HR department can be experimenting on, hey, how do I create a better job description? Right? I mean, that's the reality. Like, and go to everybody individually. Don't think ask them, don't think big picture for the company. Think your individual job. What could make you more efficient? How would you use this? What are the tasks you don't like to do or take you the longest amount of time? And then do the research around AI tools that can help you out with that. A lot of them are incredibly, if they're not free right now, they're incredibly cheap to go ahead and toy around with those. And so that is the sales side, the marketing side, the HR, the whatever it might be, the finance team, they should all be using, experimenting for 30 minutes a week on these tools. In this, these little tiny marginal gains, right? Again, that 1%, right? Just the extra 10 minutes a day, however you want to look at it, over time just adds up. And if everybody can improve by 10%, think about the overall productivity, drop in overall cost, EBITDA goes up, everything looks better, right? There's more cash to go around. There's bigger bonuses, everything that people want that are working in a company. And by the way, if you're performing that much better, you're going to land so many more clients. You're going to land so much more business. That's kind of where I sit, is 30 minutes a week. And, have them set that aside. Like, obviously you don't say, hey, go home at night and do this. Like, no. You have this time during your work week to do it.
Right. Yeah. So, it's totally full circle. We started this conversation by saying, you'll never learn membership model overnight, but if you do 1% of it every day, you'll get better and better. And
all of a sudden it'll click, right?
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
I love it. Well, Chase, this has been a fantastic conversation. Again, yeah, it was great. Having the dinner with all those brands the other night, that was a ton of fun. Hopefully we'll be able to do another one here in the near future. But with that, again, everybody, what was the name of your podcast again, Chase?
Hit subscribe, rechargepayments.com/hit subscribe.
Okay, awesome. Everybody go out and subscribe to that. With that, we're going to wrap up this episode of the Digital Deep Dive. Thanks again, everybody, for listening in.